Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel AWS DevOps Niche 11. Once again, I would like to thank you for all your support and feedback, comments for my videos. It really motivates me a lot to post more and more videos. So thank you so much again. So in today's video, we are going to discuss about a tool called SonarCube, which is the static code analysis tool. So this tool generally aligns in the DevOps family of tools. And this is meant mainly for the developers to analyze their static code, identify the security bottlenecks or any other deviations on their code from the best practices, and it will help in correcting the code accordingly. So as part of the lab demo, I'm going to show you how do you set up the SonarCube application in the AWS environment on a Linux EC2 instance. So we will try to understand why do we need a static code analysis. First and foremost, it would be very helpful for the developers if the errors are identified earlier in the development process rather than they identifying them in the later stage. It helps in detecting the over complexity in the code so that the code can be simplified as much as possible. It will help in finding the security errors, if at all any passwords are exposed on the code, or if the application is overexposed to the internet, all those bottlenecks can be identified as well from this static code analysis. Enforcing the best coding practices. So tools like SonarCube has a complete database of the coding practices, the best practices across 27 programming languages, and it compares the code against those best practices and flags if at all there is any deviation from the best practices. So other advantage with the SonarCube is that it can easily integrate with Jenkins, and we can also create project specific rules apart from the standard rules, whatever is available for each of the programming language. We can also create some project specific rules and measure our code against those rules. So what are all the various static code tools that are available in the market? So SonarCube, it's a very popular static code analysis tool. Then we have few other tools like Coverity, Raxis, Veracode, CodeScene, etc. Right? But overall, we can see that the usage of SonarCube is much on the higher side when compared to the other tools. So now let's understand what is SonarCube. So SonarCube is an open source static testing analysis software. It is used by developers to manage the source quality and checking the consistency of the code. And as I mentioned before, it supports 27 programming languages, which includes the major languages like Java, Python, PHP, C++, HTML, JavaScript, Go, Scala, etc. Also, we can measure the following parameters as part of the code quality checks. So we can identify the potential bugs on the code. We can also identify the duplication within the code. Then we can also see whether the code is having sufficient test coverage or is it lacking the test coverage scenarios, and if there is any excess complexity on the code. So all those quality checks can be measured using this SonarCube report. Now, what are all the components of SonarCube? So we have a SonarCube server, which is going to have a web interface. There is going to be a database, which is a flat file database. And there is going to be some set of rules, which are nothing but the best practices for each of the programming languages. Then we have the Sonar Scanner. So Sonar Scanner is basically the client component of SonarCube that you will install it on the machine, whichever is having the source code. Okay. So in a real-time scenario, we will actually deploy the Sonar Scanner on a Jenkins server, because if you take the CI/CD pipeline, it is basically Jenkins which is pulling the code from the GitHub repository. It is compiling the code using Maven, and the compiled version of the code is basically pushed to the Artifactory, and from there it actually goes to the SonarCube for the static code analysis. So this client component, Sonar Scanner, in a real-time scenario, it is installed on the Jenkins server. Okay. So ideally, these are the two components we have. We have a SonarCube server, then we have the Sonar Scanner, which is nothing but the client component of SonarCube. Okay, now how this SonarCube works. So once you set up the SonarCube server, the rules from that server will be pushed to the Sonar Scanner. So as I was mentioning you that Sonar Scanner is basically a client component, and in the real-time scenarios, the Sonar Scanner is installed on the Jenkins server. Okay, so the rules will be pushed to the Sonar Scanner, which is the Jenkins, where the code is available as part of the CI/CD pipeline, and that code will be compared against the SonarCube best practices, and the results will be published back to the SonarCube server. So you can see the results of the analyzed code in terms of what are all the bugs on the code, what are all the vulnerabilities on the code. We can actually see those results from the SonarCube server. Okay. So first the rules will be pushed to the client. So in the client, the reporting processing happens and the results will be published back to the SonarCube server. Okay. So some other important points to notice: DevOps engineer, he will set up SonarCube integration with Jenkins just as a one-time activity. Okay. So why? Because this tool is typically meant for the developers. So DevOps engineer's role is just to set up this tool and provide access to the developers to these tools. Whenever they want to access, they can log in with their credentials, they can download the reports, and they can analyze their code. Okay. And the default database of the SonarCube is H2. It is actually an embedded flat file database. But however, if at all you want to use the relational databases like MySQL, Oracle, etc., that is also supported. So you have to just do some additional configurations for them in order to connect to the SonarCube application. But SonarCube typically supports MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, and Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, so these are some of the points I just wanted to highlight about SonarCube. So team, now we can jump into the lab and we will see how to set up this SonarCube application on a AWS EC2 instance. So let me log into my AWS console. I'm already in the AWS console, and let us launch an instance. And these are the instructions that we will follow. SonarCube being a Java-based application. So first we need to install the latest version of Java, wherein I'm going to install the Open JDK 11. So before that, I'm going to install a dependent package, which is EPEL, the Enterprise Edition for Linux. Right. So let me first go ahead and launch an instance. We will name it as SonarCube. So on the AMI, let me select the Linux to AMI. And one important prerequisite for SonarCube is team, you should have the instance type as minimum of T2.medium, because SonarCube requires minimum of 2 virtual CPUs and 4 gigabytes of memory. Without this configuration, it will not work. So it's important that you always select the instance with the T2.medium configuration. That is a minimum requirement for SonarCube. Now coming to the key pair, probably I'll create a new key pair, extension. Let me give a key pair name. And with respect to the security group, I'm going to allow the SSH traffic just from my IP address. And we need to open one other port once the SonarCube application is installed. So I will let you know what is the port. For now, let me go ahead and launch the instance. Okay, so before we install SonarCube, we have to install the enterprise edition for Linux package, and then we need to install the Java Open JDK 11 because SonarCube being a Java-based application, so installing JDK is a prerequisite. Okay, now you can see that the instance is in the running state. Let us try to log into this instance. Okay, let me grab the public IP address. This is it. I will upload my keys. Okay, let me log in with the. I will switch to root. Okay, so the first step is we need to install this package named EPEL, that is from the Amazon Linux Extras. So I'll give this command, Amazon Linux Extras install EPEL. Enter. Okay, here I will say yes. Okay, so EPEL has been installed. So now let me go ahead and install the OpenJDK 11 using this command. So Amazon Linux Extras install OpenJDK 11. Okay, I'll click yes here. Okay, so JDK has been installed. Let us check the version, Java minus version. So you can see that it has installed the OpenJDK 11.0.20. Okay, so now the next step is, now you need to download the SonarCube package. So it is available from the binaries.sonarsource.com. So if I just log into this particular link, right, you can see the various versions of SonarCube that is available. Let me just check till distribution. Okay, or probably, this is the place where you can see the binaries for the SonarCube. Probably they have changed that link. Okay, let me see, team, if I can download this particular version of SonarCube from this URL, binaries.sonarsource.com. Okay, yeah, here it is available. So if I go under the distribution, right, you can see that there are various components. Now I'll have to search for SonarCube here. And under this, you can see there are all the versions of SonarCube that is available, right? So starting from the version 1.0.1 till the latest version, you have all the binaries available here, this repository. So now what I will do, maybe I'm going to download the 7.6 version because that's considered to be the stable version, although we have the latest versions in 9.x and 10.x also, right? So, but I'm going to download this 7.6 version, considering the stability of this version. So in order to download it, I'm going to give this command. SonarCube -7.x6.zip. That's the package name. So let us download this to my local repository. And I'm going to copy this to the OPT directory. So I will say copy SonarCube -7.6.zip to /OPT. I go into the OPT directory. Okay, I think it's not copied properly. Or I will first unzip the packages, then I can copy it. Okay. Fine, you can see that it has created a folder called SonarCube -1.6. So I'm going to remove this zip file, not anywhere required. Now I'm going to copy this folder, also all the subfolders under that as a recursive copy to the OPT directory. Okay, now we have the SonarCube folder available in the OPT directory. So now what is our next step? So we have installed the SonarCube 7.6 community edition, and we will also see a configuration file which is called sonar.properties. So if I go into this folder, SonarCube -7.6, and there is a conf folder, right? So under this conf, there is a file called sonar.properties. So let me open this file and I will grep for 9000. You can see here, it is showing you what is the web port that SonarCube is using. It is a port 9000. Okay, for all the incoming HTTP connections, the port what SonarCube uses is 9000. So it's very important that we have to open this port in the security group. That's what I was telling in the beginning, that we'll have to open one additional port in the security group, and that's nothing but 9000. So let me go to my EC2 instance and let's open this port 9000 also in the security group. So I go to the security, click the security groups, then edit inbound rule, add a rule, custom TCP, I will mention as 9000, and I will say anywhere IPv4, save the rules. Right, so this is additional steps that we need to do. And again, I wanted to show you that if you cat for sonar.properties and grep for the database, so you can see here, the default database, as I highlighted before, it is the embedded H2 database. So it is a flat file database. But however, if at all you want to integrate relational databases like MySQL, MS SQL, Oracle, etc., that is also possible. So it's just that you, on your application side, you will have to maybe point to the correct, the JDBC URL. So you have the format here, right? You are using a SQL server, so you'll have to define your JDBC configuration, something like this. Okay. So it supports MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, and Microsoft SQL Server. Okay. So with the appropriate configuration, you can use these databases also to be integrated with SonarCube. Okay. So now the next step is, let us go ahead and start this application. How do you start the application? So I will go back to the bin directory. Now I am in OPT SonarCube -7.6/bin. Now what is my OS platform here? It is Linux x86-64. So let me go inside that. And here you have a script called sonar.sh. So So I will say ./sonar.sh and start. This is to start the SonarCube application. You can see it has started the SonarCube application. Let us go ahead and check the status. But here it is saying SonarCube is not running. Okay. So now let us look at the logs. What is telling on the logs? CD logs. And here, let me tail this file sonar.log. So what it is saying? Illegal reflective access by IO netiutil internal dot reflection util. Process exited. SonarCube is stopped. You can see this also, like loaded plugin, Elasticsearch transport neti4 plugin, illegal reflective access. So team, basically what this error is saying is that you cannot start the SonarCube application with the root user. You need to have a separate user named Sonar, which can only be able to start this application. Okay. So since we started it with the root user, that's why it's giving this error. So now what we need to do, we have to create a user called Sonar. We have to set up a password for it. And then we have to give the needed permissions for the Sonar user. And then we can try to start the SonarCube application. Okay. So now what I will do is, I will say user add Sonar. And let me set a password for Sonar. Password Sonar. Let me provide a password. And I will retype the password. Okay, so the password has been updated. Now I am going to open the vsudo file and provide some additional permissions for the Sonar user. The first thing is I'll have to add this user in the wheel group, right? So in the wheel group, here I will say Sonar all equal to all. Here also I mention the all. Okay, then we have one more line here where we need to add the entry. Here also I will say Sonar all equal to all and no password all. So that's it. So basically we have edited the sudo.os file as well with the needed permissions for the Sonar user. Now let me try to switch to this user. Okay, we need to do one more thing. We have to even change the permissions of the SonarCube -7.6 folder to the Sonar user itself. So what I will do is I will go to the OPT directory and I will give this command chown -r sonar:sonar. That is the group name, the Sonar username and Sonar group name. That should be owned by this folder, or rather the SonarCube 7.6 folder should be owned by this user and the group. Okay, so that is also done. Now let us try to switch user to the Sonar. We will try to start the application. Sudo su -sonar. I give the command ID. I'm as a Sonar user now, right? Now if I go to cd/opt, now I'll go to SonarCube -7.6. Now here I'm going to go into the bin directory. And under that Linux x86-4. So here we have that script. So I will say ./sonar.sh ./sonar.sh start. Now we will start the application. You can see it's saying starting SonarCube, but let us verify the status now. Last time it was saying SonarCube was not running, right? Now you can see that SonarCube is running. Okay. And the process ID is 84. 25. Now, if I also give the command netstat-tulpn and grep for port 9000, so you can see that it will be listening. The port is listening. See, it's a Java process running on this port. This is nothing but your SonarCube. So now SonarCube has been installed and configured successfully. Now let us try to access this application from the browser. So let me grab the IP address of the instance. And since this is running on the port 9000, right? So we'll have to already we opened the port in the security group, right? So we just say the instance IP colon 9000. It is directly going to open the SonarCube web page. So you can see here, team, this is basically your SonarCube, the home page. And whenever you are analyzing your project, so you are going to get a summary here. So it is going to tell you how many projects you analyzed and what are all the number of bugs reported in your project, how many vulnerabilities are reported in your project, how many code smells are there. All those parameters you can see in detail once you really integrate your project with the SonarCube. Also, you can see that I was talking about some 20+ programming languages where it has the support. It has support for Java, VB.NET, C++, PL SQL, Python, HTML, Groovy. It has got extensive support across a good number of programming languages. And that is the reason SonarCube is a little popular compared to the other static code analysis tools. Okay, now let us try to log into this tool. The default username is admin and password is also admin. You can change it later. But this is how the home screen of SonarCube will look like, right? So you have your projects tab and it will show you the various quality parameters for your project, the reliability aspects, the security, maintainability, what is the test coverage, how many duplications are there, the size, the code size, etc. Then we have the issues tab. There you can see the potential issues, whatever is reported on your project code. Then we have the rules tab. Here you can see the rules for each of the programming languages. This is the best part of SonarCube, right? It just shows the project rules, the project specific rules for each of the programming languages against which your code is going to be compared. And if there is a deviation, SonarCube is going to flag that as a deviation in the report. Okay. Then we have other tab called as a quality profiles, and there is a quality gate tab as well. Then we have administration also. If you want to create some additional users for your SonarCube application, or if you want to create some tokens, authentication tokens, etc., you can be able to do it here. Okay. So this is just a quick overview, team, on how do you set up this SonarCube application. And typically there is going to be a second part to this video. And in that video, I'm going to show you how do you integrate this SonarCube with Jenkins and how can we really analyze a Java project, whatever is, getting implemented via Jenkins. In the sense, it is actually getting compiled by Maven. And after that, it will be processed by Jenkins, and Jenkins decides that it has to go into the SonarCube server for the static code analysis. So we will see that, the configuration of how do you integrate this SonarCube with Jenkins, probably in my next video. Okay. So I hope this information about this SonarCube was helpful, team. So if you have any comments, please feel free to put it in the comment section. And also, team, just again, I wanted to add this point. For people who are really interested to take a training on AWS and DevOps in an offline mode, I'm offering the trainings on these two technologies. So if you are interested, you can feel free to send an email to this mentioned ID. So I can provide you all the details about the course. So basically, it will be a training session delivered via Zoom. And all the class recordings will be uploaded onto the Google Drive, and that will be available for you on a long-term basis. And whether it is AWS or DevOps, it's going to be a 5 to 6 weeks of interactive course, completely focused on hands-on lab exercises. Okay. And if at all anyone is interested for any certification as well, I can give guidance for those as well. But ideally, it's going to be a 5 to 6 weeks of interactive course. So if anyone interested, team, to take an offline training course from me, please feel free to send an email to this ID and I will provide all the details. Okay. So I hope the content of this video would be very helpful. So please feel free to subscribe to my channel if you have not done it yet. If you want to get more interesting videos on AWS as well as the DevOps tools. And I think that's all I had for this video, team. And I will meet you all in my next video with another interesting content. So typically it is going to be the integration of SonarCube with Jenkins. Thank you all. We'll meet you all in my next video.